Puerto Rico occupies a peculiar space in the world of geopolitics. It exists as a U.S. territory, a status that bestows upon its residents American citizenship. However, this citizenship comes with caveats. Puerto Ricans are unable to participate in U.S. presidential elections. Their voice is absent from the national stage. Their representation in the U.S. Congress is limited to a single delegate in the House of Representatives, lacking full voting rights. This delegate can vote in committees but not on the House floor. This unique status, often referred to as a freely associated state, leaves Puerto Rico in a state of political limbo. It is neither a state nor an independent nation, its destiny intertwined with the U.S., yet distinct from it. This ambiguous relationship is a source of ongoing debate and introspection for Puerto Ricans. The island's history, marked by Spanish colonization followed by U.S. control since 1898, has fueled a complex sense of identity. The yearning for self-determination coexists with deep ties to the U.S., creating a political puzzle with no easy answers. The debate over Puerto Rico's future status is a constant undercurrent in its political discourse, shaping the island's relationship with the mainland and influencing its internal dynamics. This lack of full political participation weighs heavily on the minds of many Puerto Ricans. They observe national debates unfold from the sidelines, their voices muted on issues that directly impact their lives. The question of whether this limited engagement serves their best interests or perpetuates a form of second-class citizenship continues to fuel political activism and soul-searching on the island. The quest for a political identity that aligns with Puerto Rico's unique history and aspirations remains a central theme in its ongoing narrative. Puerto Rico's economic landscape is inextricably linked to its political status. The island's reliance on the U.S., particularly in trade and finance, is undeniable. This dependence, however, has proven to be a double-edged sword. While it provides a degree of stability, it also exposes Puerto Rico to the fluctuations of the U.S. economy. The island's economic struggles, including high levels of debt and a stagnant economy, are often attributed to this relationship. The limitations imposed by its territorial status restrict Puerto Rico's ability to chart its own economic course. Key decisions regarding trade, finance, and economic policy are often made in Washington, D.C., not San Juan. This lack of full control over its economic destiny leaves Puerto Rico vulnerable to external shocks and limits its ability to implement policies tailored to its specific needs. The island's economy is further constrained by the Jones Act, a century-old law that requires goods shipped between U.S. ports to be transported on U.S.-flagged vessels. This dependence on the U.S. has led to a cycle of borrowing and debt. Puerto Rico's government has accumulated a massive debt burden, exceeding $70 billion, which it has struggled to repay. This fiscal crisis has resulted in austerity measures and cuts to essential services, further exacerbating the island's economic woes. The lack of full control over its finances limits Puerto Rico's ability to stimulate growth, attract investment, and create jobs. The question of Puerto Rico's political future, particularly the possibilities of statehood or independence, ignites passionate debate on the island and the mainland. Proponents of statehood, a movement gaining momentum in recent years, argue that it is the only path to full equality and representation for Puerto Ricans. They believe that becoming the 51st state would grant them the same rights and privileges enjoyed by all U.S. citizens, including the right to vote in presidential elections and full representation in Congress. Statehood advocates also contend that it would unlock economic opportunities for Puerto Rico. They argue that statehood would provide access to increased federal funding, attract investment, and stimulate economic growth. They point to the disparities in federal funding between Puerto Rico and U.S. states as evidence of the unequal treatment the island receives under its current status. However, opponents of statehood, while acknowledging the challenges of the current arrangement, express concerns about the potential loss of cultural identity and autonomy that statehood might bring. They fear that Puerto Rico's unique culture, language, and traditions could be eroded by assimilation into the larger American fabric. Some also worry that statehood would lead to increased taxes and regulations, potentially harming the island's economy. On the other hand, supporters of independence argue that it would allow Puerto Rico to fully control its own destiny, free from U.S. oversight. The debate over statehood and independence is further complicated by the existence of a significant portion of the population that favors maintaining the status quo. This division within Puerto Rican society reflects the complexity of the issue and the lack of a clear consensus on the best path forward. Recent years have witnessed a series of events that have brought the question of Puerto Rico's future into sharp focus. The devastation caused by Hurricane Maria in 2017 exposed the vulnerabilities of the island's infrastructure and the limitations of its political status. The federal government's response to the disaster, while substantial, was criticized by some as slow and inadequate, highlighting the disparities in treatment between Puerto Rico and U.S. states. The Trump administration's approach to Puerto Rico was marked by controversies. While holding billions of dollars in aid for hurricane recovery, Trump also engaged in public spats with Puerto Rican leaders and made comments that were perceived as insensitive by many on the island. His efforts to mend relations in late 2024, including proposals for increased aid and support for infrastructure development, were seen by some as an attempt to court Hispanic voters ahead of the 2024 election. The 2024 election further underscored the complexities of Puerto Rico's relationship with the U.S. and its internal divisions. The island's political parties remain divided on the issue of statehood, with the New Progressive Party advocating for statehood, and the Popular Democratic Party favoring the current Commonwealth status. In 2024, a large portion of its citizens voted for the Independence Party candidate in a sign of change. The lack of a clear consensus on this fundamental question continues to hinder Puerto Rico's ability to chart a definitive course for its future. As Puerto Rico navigates the challenges of the 21st century, the debate over its political status and its relationship with the U.S. remains as relevant as ever. The island's future hinges on finding a solution that addresses its economic woes, provides political stability, and respects the aspirations of its people. The path ahead is fraught with complexities, but the quest for self-determination and a brighter future continues to drive the island's resilient spirit